This story today is dark enough to make you question mercy, set beneath a bruised desert sky where silence weighs heavier than gunfire. It's a place where broken pasts collide and choices decide who walks away human. It begins with a lie told in desperation, a small deception powerful enough to unravel lives, loyalties, and the meaning of justice itself. Before we kick off this adventure, don't forget to hit like on the video and let us know in the comments where you're watching from. 3 men came for Asa Ridley at 2 a.m. He heard them before he ever saw them, hooves grinding sand saddle leather whispering in the dark. The first rider swung down near the barn, a torch flaring in his fist. Asa didn't pause. One shot square in the chest. The man folded hard. The other 2 spun their horses, nothing but silhouettes cut out of starlight. Easy work for someone who'd spent 4 years trading fire with Union cavalry. Asa dropped the second before the man could squeeze his trigger. The third snapped off a round that sliced the wind past Asa's ear. Asa dove-rolled, came up firing, and caught him in the shoulder. Then another shot split the night from the barn itself. The wounded rider pitched forward face first into the dirt. And there in the doorway stood the woman who had lied to him. No nun's habit now. Just Mara Quinn, the woman he'd hauled out of the desert 12 hours earlier, holding Asa's Colt Navy with smoke curling from the barrel. Her stance was steady, practiced, but her hands trembled. That's when Asa understood. Everything he thought he knew about right and wrong had just twisted into something sharp and tangled. Ever wonder what it feels like to stand in a dry wash at dawn, shovel biting earth, burying 3 men beside a woman you didn't know yesterday? A woman who lied straight to your face, saved your life and turned your world inside out. What followed was blood in the dirt, and truth dragged out of the dark. It taught Asa more about sin, mercy, and bare-knuckle survival than he'd ever wanted to learn. The desert doesn't forgive liars. 15 miles south of Tucson, a woman knelt beside her dead horse. Rosary beads slipping through her fingers, black cloth wrapped tight around her. She was lying through every breath. Asa knew the instant she looked up. She said her name was Sister Maria, claimed her horse had broken a leg on the trail to a mission 40 miles east. But when she squinted into the glare, her eyes didn't lower the way a nun's should. They locked onto Asa, sharp, weighing him like a mark in a crooked saloon game. Something in that stare raised the hair on his neck, and it wasn't the heat. Then she spoke his name without him offering it, and the truth snapped into place. In Arizona Territory, 1873, a pretty lie could kill you just as dead as a bullet. Asa had seen plenty of death already. 3 years earlier, fire took his wife, Eliza Ridley. The sheriff called it an accident. The war had taken his faith before that. He wasn't hunting salvation or trouble. But as the sun sank and turned the woman's face to copper and gold, Asa wondered if damnation had finally found him. He handed her water and watched. Out here, the desperate gulped. Liars sipped. She sipped. Asa lifted her onto his horse, seated behind him. When the animal stumbled, she grabbed his waist. Through his worn shirt, he felt the press of her body, too warm, too alive. Her fingers tightened. Not like a nun. Like a woman who knew exactly what a man felt like under her hands. They rode in silence for 2 hours. By the time Asa's ranch came into view, stars were punching holes in the purple dusk. "You can bed down in the barn," Asa Ridley said. "I'll bring you some food. You're kind, mister. Kind's got nothing to do with it. If you die on my land, I'm the one who has to put you in the ground. That's extra work." She smiled, something genuine slipping through the holy act. An honest man, not many left. Neither are honest women. When Asa came back with supper, she was perched on a hay bale veil set aside. Her dark hair was pinned with care neat, but restless, the sort a man could picture coming loose. "Will you sit with me?" she asked. Asa stayed where he was, shoulder to the barn door. "Say grace." She tried and botched it. Started wrong. Fingers folded the wrong way, left over right instead of right over left. A detail only a man who'd slept near Catholics would catch. "You're no nun," Asa said low. She didn't blink. She just met his gaze, sharp and steady. "No, I'm not. Tomorrow you'll help me anyway," she went on. "3 men tried to kill me tonight. They'll be back. And when they are, you're going to want to know why." She vanished into the dark, leaving the question ringing. Blessing or body? What would you have done, sent her off at first light, or sat on the porch with a rifle knowing it was already too late? Because at 2 a.m. those riders came. When the gunfire died, Asa stood in his yard with 3 dead men and a woman shaking a smoking pistol in her hands. "You ever kill a man before?" Asa asked. She shook her head. "Not like this, where you could see his face." Asa took the gun from her. "You did fine. He was going to shoot me. I know. We need to move them before sunup. They buried the bodies in a wash 2 miles west. I worked the shovel while she stood guard. When it was done, both of us streaked with dirt and sweat. She finally told me the whole truth. Her name was Mara Quinn. Her father, Jonah Quinn, owned a ranch fed by hidden springs water more valuable than gold in that country. 3 men wanted it: Lowell Pike, the banker; Ezra Lockwood, who controlled the water rights; and Orrin Blackvale, the one pulling wires through the telegraph office. When Jonah refused to sell, they burned him out house barn, all of it. Mara kept her eyes on the ground as she spoke, her voice thin and fraying. "I was in Prescott working for Pinkerton," she said, twisting a loose thread at her cuff. She came back to nothing but blackened beams and her father's bones in the ash. The words caught in her throat, tasting like smoke. "Pinkerton fired you," I said. "For chasing a personal vendetta," she answered with a bitter laugh. They weren't wrong. Without the habit, she looked different, younger, tougher, a woman who'd learned to stay alive by outthinking the men hunting her. "Why come to me?" I asked. "Because your ranch burned too, 3 years ago. Same marks." She met my stare. "They're doing it all over the territory, running ranchers off, taking land for nothing. You were just another name on their list." Something icy settled in my gut. That fire. Eliza Ridley laid out cold. The sheriff calling it an accident. It hadn't been. "Why not tell me the truth? Because men like you don't trust strangers," she said. "But you'll save a nun. I needed you bound to help before you knew the cost. I don't like being used." "I know." Her voice softened. "That's why I'm asking now." She needed someone who knew what it meant to lose everything. Dawn was breaking 2 people smeared with blood and dirt, and a choice between them. "One condition," I said. "No more lies, just the truth. The truth she promised." We shook on it, her palm warm and calloused in mine. That's how I rode straight back into danger. We left at dusk for Tucson. The plan was simple: break into Orrin Blackvale's telegraph office, take the proof, deliver it to Judge Alton Reeves in Yuma. Simple, except it could get us both killed. We rode without talking. Mara wore borrowed men's clothes that fit her in ways that pulled at my focus. By midnight, the cold set in. She took my spare coat, nearly swallowed by it. We stopped to rest. I built a fire while she handled the horses, quick and sure, like she'd done it 100 times. "Your father teach you that?" I asked. "Yeah," she said. "He said women out here had to do everything a man could." Her smile faded. "He didn't teach me how to save him. You can't be everywhere. I was good at my work, Pinkerton's best." Her eyes stayed on the flames. Still couldn't save my own father. We watched the fire burn low. Then she reached for my hand. Her fingers slid between mine, nothing more than that. Simple contact. Two people carrying the same weight. She held my hand, her grip rough, from days on the trail, and leaned close enough to whisper. No lies now. When you look at me, what do you want? A woman who'll pray over you, or one who'll hold you through the night? Her voice cracked like the question scared her as much as any answer. I studied her face, saw the weariness there, the guard finally slipping. I'm looking for a partner, Asa Ridley said. Someone who knows life out here doesn't hand out blessings without a fight, and a body without a soul is just flesh. She smiled faintly. That's a good answer. She rested her head against his shoulder. They stayed that way, watching the fire sink into embers, less alone, no kiss, not yet. But the promise sat between them, inevitable, dangerous, worth the risk. They reached Tucson around 3 in the morning. Orrin Blackvale's telegraph office sat over the general store. They crossed from the hotel rooftop and slipped through an unlocked window. Mara Quinn moved through the files like water. She found them fast, 15 ranches burned, telegraph orders laying out the whole scheme. Got it, she whispered. Footsteps sounded. A boy stood in the doorway, maybe 16, wearing an operator's vest. His eyes went wide. Asa lunged, clamping a hand over his mouth. Mara drew her Colt. You saw us, she said, voice flat. You'll tell them. The boy shook his head wildly. You will, Mara said, easing the hammer back. I can't let that happen, Mara Asa said. He's a kid. He'll report us. And we'll hang. So what, you want to kill a boy for revenge? Her gun stayed steady, but her jaw trembled. They killed my father, she whispered. And you want to be them? Asa tightened his hold on the shaking kid. Don't lose your soul over this. For 5 long seconds she stood, frozen, gun raised. Then her arm dropped. Run, she told the boy. Go home. Asa let him go. The boy bolted into the dark. Asa took the north window, while Mara Quinn climbed the shaft, circling to come up behind them. She dropped 2 men clean before Blackvale spotted her. His shot tore into her shoulder. She hit the ground hard. Something broke loose in Asa. He came out like an animal, all grief and fury burned down to violence. He shot one, slammed another beat, a third senseless with the stock of his rifle. When he reached Blackvale, he wrenched the pistol from his hand and threw him down. Blackvale looked up, blood on his mouth, and smiled. Go on, he said. Prove you're the same as me. Asa stood over him, rifle leveled at his head. Behind him, Mara dragged herself closer, clutching her bleeding shoulder. Kill him, she gasped. For my father. For Eliza Ridley. Asa's finger tightened. It would have been easy. Then he thought of that boy, of Mara lowering her gun, of choosing conscience. He lowered the rifle. No. Why? Because you didn't kill that kid, Asa said. You chose right over revenge. I'm choosing the same. We're not killers. We're after justice. He bound Blackvale and waited for Marshal Reed Holloway. Mara stared at Asa like she was seeing him for the first time. Then she smiled through tears. You're a better man than me, maybe Asa said. Or maybe I learned from a better woman. Did he make the right call? He didn't know. He only knew that night he chose to be the kind of man who could meet her eyes come morning. A week later, Judge Alton Reeves made everything public. Lowell Pike was arrested. Ezra Lockwood was killed while running cut down by tall ash. Blackvale was sentenced to hang, but he took poison in his cell, first leaving a note. Miss Quinn, you won. Your father was a good man. He died because good men die first in this territory. You're luckier. Keep it. Mara burned the letter, but the truth stayed. Judge Reeves pardoned them both. Their names spread anyway. The pair who cracked the Tucson ring. Victor Klein came calling Pinkerton wanted Mara back. A supervisor's post in Chicago. Money, safety, or Arizona with Asa. Hard days. Risk. No promises. Asa didn't press. He only said, I can't offer easy. The ranch is small. The desert is unforgiving. Asa Ridley said, I'm no romantic, but I'll never lie to you. And I'll stand between you and the worst of it, even if it costs me my last breath. She smiled through tears. For the first time, I don't want a promise of safety. I want something real. She squeezed his hand. You just gave me that. So you're staying, I'm staying. They rebuilt side by side. The house was small but sound. 20 head of cattle on the range. Mara Quinn learned to cook poorly, and Asa ate every bite. He learned how to smile again, how to touch her without fearing she'd vanish. 3 months later, at sunset on the porch, she looked at him with a gaze that tightened his chest. The light painted her face, and her voice shook. One last time with nothing held back. When you look at me, what are you chasing? She asked. My heart to steady you, or my touch to remind you you're alive. Her fingers locked into his like she was holding on to the edge. Asa drew her close arms around her waist, his mouth a breath from hers. Both Mara Quinn. I seek both. Why? Because your blessing is why I believe in tomorrow. You showed me good people still exist, that conscience matters, that a man can choose mercy and live with it. He cupped her face. And your body is why I want to live long enough to see that tomorrow, why I wake each morning feeling alive for the first time in 3 years. His voice fell. I seek both, soul and flesh, grace and want, the woman who chose mercy, the woman who stood beside me bleeding and unafraid. He held her. I want all of you. That's why I won't let go. She kissed him then, urgent, full of all the loneliness they'd carried. His hands threaded into her hair. Her fingers dug into his shoulders. When they parted, she breathed against his mouth. Then don't let go. Never. He carried her inside. The door shut. A lamp flickered as the sun dipped. 2 shadows merging into one. For the first time since the war, since Eliza Ridley's death, peace found him. That's how it happened. A woman in a nun's habit lying through her teeth, and a rancher with nothing left to lose, found something worth holding. Revenge might have swallowed them whole. Instead, they clawed their way to something like justice. Maybe even love. Was Asa a good man? He had blood on his hands, 5 men dead. A telegraph office wrecked. But when it mattered, he didn't pull the trigger on Orrin Blackvale. He stood there, rifle trembling, and chose mercy. Whether that made him decent, he didn't know. It let him sleep at night, with her breathing soft beside him. Out here, he learned one thing for sure. The only thing more dangerous than a lie is the truth. And the only thing stronger than revenge is the choice to release it. Mara Quinn and Asa Ridley built something real on that ranch, years that cut hard, and years that healed slow. They lost cattle to drought, drove off claim jumpers with grit and gun smoke, raised hell when the land demanded it. And when the nights were kind, they lay beneath the stars. Mara never stopped being dangerous. Never stopped being beautiful. She never stopped pushing Asa to be better. And he never stopped seeking both her grace and her heat, her soul and her fire. Because that's what love is out here, friend. It isn't gentle or easy. It's choosing someone when it's risky. Staying when running would be safer. Fighting for something worth more than gold or vengeance. It's waking beside someone who knows your worst sins and keeps you anyway. Out here, that kind of knowing weighs more than any promise. The desert remembers everything. Cities forget. Some places understand the cost of choices and the weight they leave behind. Because out here, the only thing more dangerous than a lie is the truth, and the only thing stronger than revenge is choosing to let it go. That's how it ends. With choices made clean, aim held steady, and a heart brave enough to want both blessing and flesh, when you find someone worth keeping. Finally, let me send my deep thanks to you. Thank you for listening. If this story has touched your heart, I invite you to stay with us to discover more true tales of the Wild West, stories that honor resilience, tenderness, and the spirit that God placed in those who blazed the trail. Subscribe, share, leave your thoughts in the comments, and join us once again to journey across this untamed land. Thank you. Aviso legal/disclaimer. These stories are crafted purely for entertainment and may contain imaginative additions or dramatic interpretations inspired by old frontier eras. We use AI-based resources, voice imagery, and drafting as part of our creative process, but every final detail is carefully reviewed and shaped by human effort to preserve emotional depth and authenticity. We strictly follow YouTube's rules regarding AI-generated content and refrain from deepfakes, altered identities, or misleading representations. All images, sounds, and related materials are lawfully obtained. Please do not reuse, modify, or distribute any portion of this content without written permission. Thank you for valuing creativity, respect, and original work.